NCA, this is All Angles. Good to be with you. I'm Gareth Edwards. Let's continue to bring you the latest on this fire down in Parliament in Cape Town. The breaking news from earlier on this morning. The latest we have for you is off the back of a media briefing conducted by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa Nkula, also Public Works Minister Patricia de Lille forming a big part of that media briefing. A call against speculation for the moment of what has caused the fire, still under investigation at the moment. And according to de Lille, we have not been able to contain the fire in the National Assembly chambers. Part of the ceilings, according to Patricia de Lille, have also collapsed. The latest I have for you on the reports coming from the area, fire has gutted the third floor of the old Assembly building. It includes the office space and also the gymnasium. The roof of the old Assembly building has collapsed. That is gone. The actual old Assembly chamber doesn't appear to be damaged, but we are seeing that access cannot be gained into the building. It could also be water damaged. For the moment, the entire building has extensive smoke and water damage as well. But as I go across to Ayesha Ismail, hello to you, Ayesha. You're following what's been happening outside of Parliament as well. I'll go through more of what came out of that briefing a little bit earlier, but I think for those just tuning in, it's obviously good news. The reports I have is that no injuries have been reported. What are you hearing?
Gareth, certainly no injuries, but certainly extensive damage to Parliament. We know that the entire parliamentary complex has been severely damaged, whether it be by as a result of the fire, the smoke, or waterlogged. Lots of damage, and it's going to take many more hours for the fire inside the National Assembly to be contained. We know that currently we've got the fire services, fire and rescue services on the premises, as well as SAPS, and I can also see the CSI people on the premises. And we did get an extensive briefing from JP Smith from the City of Cape Town, who said that he went on a walkabout with Patricia de Lille, the Minister of Public Works, to go and look at the extent of the damage. And he did not sound very confident about the fire being contained anytime soon. But let's listen to what he said during that extensive briefing.
I can tell you now that the entire parliamentary complex is severely damaged, waterlogged and smoke damaged. So there's going to be damage extensively. The roof above the old Assembly chamber the old Assembly hall is completely gone, as per the photographs we also posted, and the offices adjacent to it in the gym are destroyed. Minister de Lille did indicate that those might be the offices of good. The second point of fire is the National Assembly chamber behind me, which you can see, which is gutted. The structural ceiling has collapsed, and the fire staff had to be momentarily withdrawn.
All right, Ayesha, let's come back to you for the moment. Ayesha Ismail, off the back of what the City of Cape Town's JP Smith had to say, there was a bit of confusion, about the extent of the damage as well. Are we getting any better indication as to what may have caused the fire? Of course, we'll steer clear of speculation, but I suppose that is the obvious question. Anything you're hearing?
Gareth, there is absolutely no indication as to what caused the fire. We did ask Minister de Lille about this, as well as JP Smith, and both of them are saying they don't want to speculate and are calling on others not to speculate about what exactly caused the fire. But Gareth, I think that initially even Minister de Lille and others underestimated the extent of the fire and the damage that was caused. Following subsequent briefings, we heard about the vast damage that was caused inside. We also know now that some political parties who have offices adjacent to the NCOP, their offices were gutted, and I'm told that those offices include the offices of the Good Party. I also spoke to William Adisha from Cope earlier, and he was saying that his office was also damaged, and he's particularly worried about sensitive information and files in those offices, which they will not now be able to to access at the moment. And as JP Smith said, the damage caused is either by fire or by smoke, or, you know, the places that are now waterlogged. But we're going to be waiting for another update later today from the city of Cape Town, as well as Patricia de Lille, about you know, how far they are with getting to put out this fire that is still raging inside the National Assembly. We also heard about the artifacts inside the old Assembly, and they also trying to safeguard all those historical artifacts and art pieces inside the old Assembly. But again, just as you can see, everybody on the scene, the firefighters, the members of state security, the members of the South African Police Services, all here on the scene trying to put out that fire. I must say, though, that earlier, or rather a few minutes ago, we were still seeing lots of black smoke coming out of the roof of the National Assembly. That seems to have disappeared almost completely. As you can see, it's now white smoke coming out from the roof of the National Assembly. So it does appear as if the fire has kind of subsided a bit, but, you know, one can never tell, because I'm not sure if you were able to see the visuals that were put out by the city of Cape Town, showing us exactly what the old Assembly looks like inside. It's completely gutted inside and a lot of damage. And so, you know, Patricia de Lille is going to have to answer a lot of questions in terms of the renovations of the National Assembly and the old Assembly, how long that is going to take, whether this is going to affect the opening of Parliament. That's going to take place. Is it going to be delayed? But of course, as I said, we're going to get an update from Patricia de Lille a little later about, you know, what exactly is going to happen. I saw Zizi Kodwa here as well, and hopefully we'll be able to speak to him. But it also calls into question about the safety and security of Parliament. I did manage to speak to somebody earlier, but off camera, a representative from Nihau, who is based at Parliament, and he was saying normally they work split shifts on weekends, and he says that they were told, and he speaks as a Nihau representative representing their workers here on Parliament, those protecting the parliamentary precinct, and he says that some of their workers were told that they cannot work on weekends because there's simply no money to pay them for overtime. So we're going to be asking those questions as well. Does this mean that because they did not have people on duty at the time, that this could have been prevented, maybe?
Yeah, and questions are going to be asked not just around the safety of Parliament in this latest incident, Ayesha, but I think it's also relevant we take viewers back to March 2021, where there was a fire, if I'm not mistaken, at the old Assembly as well. So it's not too long ago where we had another incident like this at Parliament.
Exactly, and we're still awaiting a report as to what exactly happened in that, what caused that fire in March last year. So it is just, again, the Nihawu spokesperson said to me they also asked for that report, and as a union they have an interest because they also here to ensure that their members are protected, because fortunately this has now happened when Parliament is not in session. Parliament is, of course, in recess, but he says that he is concerned about the fact that they still did not get a report as to what happened during that fire, what caused the fire in March. But also, again, Gareth, remember we heard from JP Smith also saying that the firefighters responded to a call just after 6 a.m. They arrived on the scene. They were already on the parliamentary precinct when the alarm system was activated. It wasn't activated when the fire started. So one also needs to ask about what's happening to the maintenance of Parliament. And when last did they test the fire alarm?
And those are the kind of details we're going to have to get into that. So the Patricia de Lille's and the Speaker of the National Assembly are going to have to answer too, because it seems that there's been a bit of a disconnect about the safety of the building, those who are supposed to be on site to ensure that arguably one of the most important buildings in the country is looked after and protected regardless, 24 hours a day. And it's those kind of questions, Ayesha, I know you're going to put to Patricia de Lille, JP Smith, the Speaker of the National Assembly later in the day. But for the Ayesha, I'm going to say thank you to you. I know you're going to continue speaking to whoever you can, your sources on the ground. The breaking news, as we have had this morning, is this fire down in Cape Town at Parliament. For those who've just tuned in, that fire breaking out, we understand, just after 5 o'clock this morning. The fire emergency services and EMS arriving just after 6 o'clock this morning. A media briefing held just a short while ago from the Speaker of the National Assembly, as also Public Works Minister. For the moment, the fire is not contained. That was the update as of about 15 minutes ago. It is being contained to the third floor. I'm sorry, not contained. It's gutted the third floor of the old Assembly building, including the office space and the gymnasium. The old Assembly building, the roof of the old Assembly building has collapsed and is completely gone. So for the moment, we're going to wait for another media briefing from the Speaker of Parliament and Patricia de Lille as they get more information. But for the moment, that